Well, hello, friends in Prairie Rose, and welcome to our very first session of After School AI. And this week we are going to look at one of my favorite AI, generative AI tools, even though they haven't been around that long, and that is the tool called DIFIT. So our plan is to every 2 weeks or so, we're doing a mini session of mini series of 4 sessions. There we go. We're going to focus on a different generative AI tool or technique, and we're going to bring that to you in about 30 minutes. And so we're going to just do a show of the tool, and then we're going to have the videos available later for recording. And so this week is DIFIT. And so love it if you would say hi over in the chat. And even more importantly, if you could tell us whether you have ever heard of DIFIT, diffit.me, or whether you have even maybe used diffit.me. So that would be great information to know. We have Jamie coming to us from Acadia Valley. Hello, Jamie. Have you heard of DIFIT? Have you used DIFIT? Okay, so just gonna connect here. A little better sound. 3:30 is tough to get to, isn't it? All right, here we go. So DIFIT is, if you might guess, the tool is for differentiation. And so DIFIT does a lot of things. I'll be showing those all today in a moment. But what does DIFIT do? It generates fairly short informational or narrative texts using AI, and that is generative AI. And then the big deal, DIFIT, differentiation, it produces differentiated levels of texts, but also it creates vocabulary lists and quizzes, and it will differentiate and translate all of those different things. So at a high level, that is what this tool DIFIT does. And so this is the picture of DIFIT, and I just need to get over to DIFIT in a moment here. So just give me 1 minute. My tab closed. And so we'll be ready in just a moment here. As you can see, while you're looking at that slide, there are 3 different ways that you can get, or things you can do in DIFIT. You can use a link, you can use cut and paste, and then you can also just ask it to do really, literally anything. Okay, just gonna focus on what I'm doing here for a moment. All right, so we're going to jump over into a live demo of DIFIT. So this is DIFIT. Diffit.me is where you would go to get to this site. And then it's a pretty simple site. There's a website where it kind of tells you about it. But when you just log in, you get to this site right here, and it does 2 things. It says get resources and then my resources. And so that is how that works. So let's take a look at what we can do with DIFIT. So first of all, let's imagine that we are doing elementary science. We know we have new science curriculum in Alberta, and so I could just ask it for a topic, and the more specific I am, it will create some material for me. So let's say grade 3 science. So no, I'm going to not put the grade in because I'm going to put the grade down here. I'm going to change the grade to 3rd grade. So let's say rocks and minerals, including 3 types of rocks and how they are formed. So I could just leave it at rocks and minerals. I'm going to give it a little bit more. And I know that's no longer in the grade 3 curriculum, but I can't remember where it moved to. So we'll just do grade 3 rocks and minerals. Now, at the bottom, I'm going to click generate resources. There we go. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to see the magic. So this is literally everything. I've just typed in 10 or 12 words, and now it's working. I enjoy that it gives us some tips, and here it reminds us that it will give us the citations from which it's drawing its information. And you can see the green bar going across the bottom. And here we have generated from nothing that exists before a passage on rocks and minerals. So this is written at a grade 3 level. Let's take a look at what we have. So it's short paragraphs, and it does have some difficult vocabulary, igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic, but those are actual grade 3 terms that the students have to look at. And so beyond that, it's not super difficult. I can come up to the top here and show sources. So if I want to say, where is this information from? It gives me some sources. If I hover over them or click into them, it takes me to the bottom. So if I look at my list here, it's got a .org site, which generally is a little bit safer. It's got National Geographic, which I trust, learner.org, a museum, and then this is a really trustworthy state if it's an EDU site. So this is Oregon State EDU, and Dexter's is it's a .com site, but it is a common site where there are informative pieces for kids. And so I know Dexter's, I'm thinking, okay, probably some pretty good sources here. So this helps me as an educator say, is this trustworthy? Where is this information coming from? So I can click hide sources and those go away. Now I can edit any parts of this. If I just click edit, I can now come in here and I can change, I can type, I could add information, I could do anything that I want. And then when I do that, I'll just press save and it will always take my changes. Now, we haven't even seen the best parts. So I've got this really nice differentiated site, or this differentiated source that it has produced for me. Now here it gives me a summary. So what are the 3 main pieces from this summary? It's got, it's pulled out 3 pieces. This was a very simple piece. Now you can imagine if it was a longer 10th grade piece or 8th grade piece, that this summary would be very nice. And we know that when we're scaffolding learning for different types of learnings, summaries can be super helpful. Again, I can edit. So if I wanted to add to the summary or shorten it, I can do that. I'm just going to press save. And then check this out. I've got key vocabulary. So of course, igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic tells me the parts of speech. And then it's got magma and intrusive as other words that it decided were quite difficult from that learning piece. It gives me a definition, and then it also uses as an example of that word in a sentence. Now, let's say that I want to add some more. I can click add more, and let's say I need 2 more words. So I'm going to click 2 and hit generate. So if I scroll down here, it's thinking. It's now added fossil and erosion. So now I've added those to my vocabulary list. Of course, anytime we do any work in generative AI, super, super important to read it yourself. If you were with us in our session last week, we talked about the 80-20 rule. We can let generative AI do part of the work, 75%, 80%, but as teachers, as instructors, as professionals, it is imperative that we read through and that we don't blindly copy and paste. Generally, the vocabulary definitions are fairly safe or fairly trustworthy, but my issue with generative AI is always in the quizzing or the questions types pieces. So here we see multiple choice, and there are very typically very low level Bloom's taxonomy. So even though it looks really cool that it generates multiple choice questions, as an instructor, I'm always cautious and wary about using these types of questions because they tend to be very low level. And so there are some questions generated. I can ask it to show answers. And so then it will give me the answer. Now, if I keep scrolling down, Here are some short answer quizzes or questions. Again, it will give me a suggested answer. And then it also gives me open-ended prompts. So this is good if you were wanting to have a discussion or an anticipatory set in your lesson, or maybe even a closing. These are some great prompts. It doesn't give sample answers for that, but we can add prompts. Okay, so how many more prompts do we need? I'm going to add one more. Generate. It's given me two more. What do you think if rocks and minerals didn't exist? Interesting. And imagine a world without rocks and minerals. How different would it be? When I read those, I sense that there's probably a pattern with their open-ended questions. And so I would imagine that what if it didn't exist is probably going to be a question open-ended for lots of different topics. All right. So if you're always giving them the same prompts, kids might wonder what is happening. So let's turn off these answers. And so then we just have the multiple choice. With the multiple choice, they do have some options that I'd like to show you in the quizzing section. So if we go to add questions, they do give us some options here. So basic comprehension is the basic type that they've given us. Now, in the past, when I've used these, I'm going to go with strategic thinking because I'm thinking that that's a higher level of Bloom's taxonomy. So I'm going to generate one to start. I'm not sure that I love always what's happening. So is this really a strategic level question? I'm not sure that it's all very much higher than the basic questions, but here it is. What is the process by which metamorphic rocks are formed? And they give us four options. And of course, if we ask it to, it will generate an answer. One of the things that happens with these additional levels, and I'll just show them to you again under add questions. So we have strategic thinking, extending. The answers to those questions won't be as cut and dried based on the reading, right? So if we look at the basic comprehension, it's going to be straight reading comp out of the passage, whereas the strategic and the thinking, they do not narrow in on the materials quite as specifically. So that is how we could take a look at those. So now you see I've added a multiple choice question and some other questions there as well. Of course, at any time, I can edit these items and I might want to make it more difficult. I might want to change the wording, make it better. Again, I edit and then I can save. So we can do a lot of customizing in this process. But wait, we haven't really even differentiated yet. And this is where I get so excited about DFIT because I know that we have so many different types of learners in our classrooms. If you're teaching grade 3 or grade 5 or grade 8 math at Warren Peers or shop class in Foremost, you know that there are learners all over the spectrum of reading. And so this is where DFIT really shines. So right up here, just trying to fit as much as on the page as I can. There you go. At the top, let's say we wanted to stretch our readers and say, okay, I've got a really high reader in my class. Let's see what this looks like at 6th grade. Okay, so I've changed it to 6th grade. I just want you to look at the 3rd grade. So it's got a single opening line, and then it's got 3 paragraphs of three lines and a short conclusion. That's 3rd grade. So let's take a look at what happens when we regenerate for 6th grade. Here, DFIT reminds us, check your results. Use that 80-20 rule. AI makes mistakes. Now, the longer your passage, the longer it will take to generate. Right now, as we see on the screen, DFIT is free and there isn't a paid version, but my guess, based on that little hint they just dropped us, is that it's coming. So many of these generative tools, these are startup companies, they're small groups of people that have created these tools for us, and eventually they need to make a living as well. And so once they get us hooked, they tend to want to charge us. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes. I don't know if it is, but I think they were foreshadowing. All right, let's take a look at 6th grade reading. here it is. So the topic sentence looks similar. We still have igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. We'll take a look at the vocabulary list to see if that has extended. I do notice what they have done is added another paragraph here on the rock cycle. And so that rock cycle paragraph is probably where they have increased the difficulty level. All right, so now we can see we have some different words. Let's add vocabulary words. Let's add 3 more, generate, and see what they add for us. It's probably, my guess is it'll be similar to the ones before. So we have erosion and fossils, and they also added photosynthesis, which I'm not even sure I saw in this reading. So in this case, we really might want to check out this piece, photosynthesis, rocks and minerals. I'm not so sure that fits. If I don't like it, I can edit it. In this case, I'm going to be like, yeah, photosynthesis doesn't fit. I'm going to click the X on the end of this one. And there it's gone. Now, let's say that I wanted to rearrange these. I wanted fossil to come up. I'm not sure if you can see on the screen. Oh, I think you can. There's 6 dragging dots. Anytime you see, like, it looks like a little domino, that means you can drag something on a site. And so I'm going to push this fossil one right up. And you'll see in a minute why those orders might matter. It doesn't look like the open-ended prompts have changed much at all. So it's moved it up to 6th grade. And again, I would say you have to decide it for yourself as a teacher. Is this really 6th grade? Is it too hard? Is it not hard enough? Maybe you need to use 5th grade for your 6th graders, or maybe you need to use 8th grade for your 6th graders. That will be something that you can figure out as you go. All right. I'm just realizing that I am doing all of the examples from this piece of rocks and minerals. I'm going to keep going here, and then we're going to go back and look at some of the other things that it can do as well. So I've got some export options here. And so I can print or save as a PDF. I love this part. It's going to tell me which pieces I get. So it can include the reading level. It'll tell me the grade that it is. A common request in the DFIT community is that they would produce Lexile levels. So when we do our MAP NWA reading test, for example, we get Lexile levels for the kids. It's been a common request that tools like DFIT are able to include Lexile levels, which is more accurate than saying grade 5 or 6 or 7, but hopefully that'll come. So I can decide here which I want. So let's just say that I want the open-ended, the multiple choice, but not the short answer questions. I'm going to click open with DFIT. And here you'll see now that it gives me the PDF generated option. Okay, so it just looks like a PDF, and that's what that looks like. But there's more magic. If we go export to docs, this is where there's some real power. So when we go to export to docs, we get some options. If I just go simple export, it's going to look exactly like the PDF that it just generated. However, if I click printable template, open with DFIT, it's going to do some magic. And then it's going to give me a lovely printable resource. And I'll show you what I mean. You have to see it to really understand it. So here you have the printable resource. I obviously would want to make the title better. I could have done that back in my work screen, but this is all, let's just go rocks and minerals. Tidy that up a little bit. There we go. So you can see that it's put the vocab first, and it's put it into a nice chart, terms, definitions, and example sentences. And again, any of this is still editable within the sheet. It just operates like a regular Google Doc now. Here is the reading. And again, I would want to tidy up my title there. Then we have the reading summary. And then I have the multiple choice questions. And so it puts it into a nice printable format. The reason that it puts it into this little chart is so that it takes up less space. So I'm always a paper saver, so I do enjoy this multiple choice version. You can see here that it did not include the short answers because I asked it not to. It still included the title, so I don't like that. I'm going to delete that. And then it's got the open-ended questions. And you can see here that it's given me some lines for my students to write those answers on. So this was the version that was printable. Now, I'm going to close that. I'm going to go export. And this time, Google Docs, I'm going to show you what it looks like as a digital template. So I've clicked digital template here. And now this one is designed to be used in Google Classroom or some other learning management system where students would do the typing within the document. So we'll open that up. It will look quite similar, but what you'll notice is down here at the bottom, instead of the lines to make it good for printing or for writing, it now has blank spaces, and this is where we would type or have our students type. So that is what the digital print document looks like. We haven't even gotten to my favorite part yet, and that is up to export to forms. So I want to include a summary. Let's go title image. Oh, reading level. Before I do this, I'm going to fix my title so we don't keep getting rocks and minerals. So I don't have to keep fixing that inside. Again, we can edit. We also can add an image. It doesn't generate an image for us. I don't have an image of rocks and minerals saved on my computer, but if I did, I would just find it from my computer. I don't have my share settings set correctly, but if you were to see my screen right now, it would show you that it's searching on my computer for an image. All right, so now we're going to go to export to forms. So you can see the choices are the same. Let's see what that looks like. This part is what I've been waiting for the last 15 years of my teaching career, something that exports to Google Forms with a button. Let's see how it does. Again, fully editable. Interesting, it did not pick up my new title. So if I had refreshed my page in Diffit, it likely would have. But right here, I still have to change that. So it gives me the adapted reading passage. That means it's the grade 6 one, not the grade 3 one. The summary, here's the key vocabulary. And again, all of this, it's a Google form, it's editable. And then it has the multiple choice questions and the answers and the open-ended prompts. And so it has created the questions appropriately. So what it doesn't do is create an answer key. So you would have to, if you wanted to give this as a quiz and make it self-marked, you would have to come into settings and you would have to turn on, make this a quiz and select the answers. Or did it? Usually it doesn't. Let's double check. Answer key. Oh, it does. It does have it. Sometimes it doesn't. So it does do the answer key. That must be an update because a couple days ago it didn't do that. So it gives you, it creates it as a quiz. So the multiple choice ones are already selected as the correct answer. So wow, that's a nice update. All right, let's hear from those of you joining us in the chat. Which of these features, Google Docs, printable, digital, Google Forms, might you be most excited about using with your students? I'd love to hear what you're thinking about that. I'm just going to close some of these tabs here. And we're back to our main passage. Okay, we are going to go back to Get Resources. We've only showed you, well, we've done a deep dive on all the things, But there are three different ways that we can add information to Diffit. One is literally anything. So I just typed. If I have an article or a URL, so I am just going to take this one from the web because I lost the one that I had set up. I'm going to just paste this in here. So it's a URL from an article. It's from a web page. And so it will go to that site and it will create information. So now it's generating information from that site. Okay, so what it does, it was the text help, which is the read and write website. So it's given me a nice, the adapted reading passage is a summary of that site. It still gives me a summary, keywords, multiple choice questions, all the same. Okay, so that was from that text. And then it also has one more feature, and that is any excerpt or text that you copy and paste in there. And so I did not have time to get my document open where I have all the material that I wanted to copy and paste, but there are some things that I can tell you about that. And so we're just going to pop over to the slide deck where I have an image of that. So okay, so here we go. Here it is. So you can see right here, I'm not sure if that's going to be big enough, but in the green box on the bottom, it says, diffit.me says, sorry, Diffie can only generate documents up to 40,000 characters. Yours had 64,000 characters. So I was trying to update or upload a PDF of a story. It was like a 12-page story, so it was very long. And it said there's a limit. So 40,000 characters is probably still 5 or 6 pages of PDF text. If you use the third tab, the any text or excerpt that you copy and paste, it has about a 6,000 character limit. So if I've had items that I didn't have in a PDF, but I wanted to put in there, I've had to kind of take it into chunks, about 6,000 words at a time, and it still works nicely. All right. So that, friends, is a real quick tour of Diffit. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. I will add these. I was going to pop them into the chat, but again, I don't have that resource right handy. I had a whole computer shut down unexpectedly right before we started, and so I don't have all of my tabs open that I had planned to have. I will send this out. You will have the recording is going to be on the AI page in our Prairie Rose website. The recording will also sit on the YouTube page that you're currently on. These resources will also be in the AI webpage. So if you go to AI, I'll type this in here. Let's see. I should be able to type this in the chat. Okay. .ly/PRPSAI. I think 3 is the right number. If someone wants to click on that and tell me if that takes us to the coach's AI website, that would be great. I think it's PRPS AI 3 is the right one that takes us to the website. I'll have the video posted. Every week we'll post the video there and additional resource as well. So Diffit, one of my favorite tools for generative AI. I love the differentiation, any grade, any subject, even as a non-teacher, lots and lots of possibilities here. I am so glad that you joined us today. If you enjoyed this session, if you have friends and colleagues that you think will enjoy DFIT, make sure you send them to this link. And also it's available on our coach's webpage. Thank you, Jamie, for confirming that that is indeed. So if you're viewing this afterwards, the link in the chat does work. It'll take you to the site where all of our AI sessions are. We hope you will join us on October 11th for our next session. And you can contact me if you'd like to get on the email list for more information. And that means that you'll always get the links to the sessions and any updated information as well. So thank you for tuning into our very first after school AI session. Tell your colleagues, tell your friends, and come back again next time. Contact me if you have any questions. Bye-bye.